The incident occurred precisely 23 minutes into an event Adam Schiff was sure would mark the pinnacle of his political life. He had entered the East Room of the White House convinced he was the predator, the chief interrogator finally trapping his quarry. For 8 years, he had constructed this story, cultivating the image of a serious intelligence specialist. A man weighed down by grim secrets he was unable to reveal, but could only caution against. He believed this media briefing was effectively his celebration run. He remained completely unaware that he was positioned directly atop a trapdoor. The arrangement was unique, as the White House had framed it as a summit for transparency and a head-on engagement to heal the lasting scars of the Russia inquiry. President Trump had seated his harshest detractors in the front row, granting them the initial opportunity to speak into the microphone. The press corps erupted into a frenzy, with CNN labeling it the ultimate confrontation and MSNBC displaying a countdown timer. The air inside the East Room felt charged and heavy with the exhalations of 300 journalists packed tightly together, their cameras aimed at the stage like sniper rifles. Adam Schiff sat in the primary row, straightening his shirt cuffs while balancing a notepad on his knee, teeming with questions engineered to be impossible to answer. He had practiced the rhythm of his speech, aiming to sound strict, let down, and commanding. He intended to inquire about the meeting at Trump Tower, about Manafort, and about the ceaseless smoke he had claimed for nearly a decade was evidence of a fire. He glanced around the hall, offering nods to his confederates within the press pool, feeling absolutely untouchable. At precisely 2 in the afternoon, Donald Trump made his entrance, though he did not march in with his typical loud rally enthusiasm. There was no music blaring from the speakers as he walked in deliberately, clutching a heavy black binder beneath his arm. He appeared composed, perhaps dangerously so, as he set the binder on the lectern, fixed the microphone, and stared straight at Adam Schiff. Trump thanked everyone for attending, keeping his voice steady, and stated that for 8 years the nation had been divided by a falsehood. He declared it was a lie repeated continuously by individuals who knew the truth, people who used security clearances and secret briefings as shields to mislead the American populace. Schiff tensed up, expecting an assault, yet this sensation was distinct because it did not feel like an insult, but rather an introduction. Trump announced that today he was declassifying everything, including every briefing, memo, and intelligence evaluation that had been concealed from the public. He lifted a remote control and invited Senator Schiff to ask the first question. Schiff rose to his feet, accepted the microphone, and felt the heavy burden of history upon him. He began by projecting his voice well, stating that for years there had been recorded interactions between the campaign and Russian agents. He asserted that the American citizens deserved to understand why the president had constantly attempted to hide these connections and why he disregarded warnings from the intelligence community regarding compromise. It was a flawless inquiry that presumed guilt and sounded grave, and Trump acknowledged it as a great question without deflecting or attacking Schiff's personality. He merely pushed a button on the remote behind him, causing 2 gigantic LED displays to flicker into existence. A document materialized, not a tweet or a campaign image, but an official government record stamped "Top Secret," with a thick red line striking through it and a fresh stamp marking it declassified on January 15, 2025. Pointing to the monitor, Trump identified this as the official transcript from the Gang of Eight briefing held on March 15, 2017. He noted that the Gang of Eight comprises leaders from both parties and the intelligence committees, adding that Adam was present and his signature was visible on the log. The text on the screen was enlarged, appearing sharp, bureaucratic, and irrefutable, titled as an FBI counterintelligence assessment concerning the Trump campaign and Russia dated March 15, 2017. The findings stated that the Bureau had examined numerous contacts, but investigators had discovered no proof of coordination, conspiracy, or collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. It noted the investigation was ongoing, yet no reliable intelligence backed the theory of coordination, and the words "no evidence" were highlighted in yellow. Reading aloud the date March 15, 2017, Trump remarked that Schiff sat in a secure room where the FBI looked him in the eye and stated explicitly they found no evidence of coordination. Trump gazed down at Schiff, who remained standing with the microphone dangling limply in his grip, and asked if he had heard that. He reminded Schiff that he had signed the paper confirming he heard it, noting that the day was a Wednesday. Trump clicked the remote once more and proposed they examine what Schiff did on Thursday. Schiff felt his heart pounding against his chest, realizing what was approaching as he recalled the interview and the surge of power he felt at that time. He remembered the thrill of being the man who possessed secrets, but staring at the document on the screen provided cold, hard evidence of what he was actually told. He understood with a nauseating drop in his stomach that the context had shifted, meaning he was no longer the protagonist, but the villain. 78 million viewers were witnessing this transformation in real time, and the atmosphere in the East Room seemed to evaporate, drawn out by the collective gasp of the press. On the display, the classified briefing log from March 15, 2017, stayed frozen, with the words "no evidence" hanging like a judicial sentence. Adam Schiff stood immobilized in the front row, ensnared in the harsh lights, his mind frantically searching for an escape route that was not there. Donald Trump offered him no opportunity to recover, pressing the button on the remote again to split the screen. The left side retained the FBI briefing document, while the right side displayed a video player, which Trump narrated as being from the very next day. He stated that on March 16, 2017, less than 24 hours after leaving the secure briefing room, Schiff appeared on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. The video played with crystal-clear audio booming through the high-quality speakers of the East Room, showing a younger, eager Adam Schiff leaning toward the camera with a familiar look of serious, patriotic worry. In the clip, Schiff told Chuck that he could not discuss specifics due to classification, but he could confirm seeing more than just circumstantial evidence of collusion. He claimed there was direct evidence of deception and evidence of a relationship that was profoundly troubling. Trump paused the video, freezing Adam Schiff's face in mid-sentence, where he looked self-righteous and confident. Turning to the actual Adam Schiff standing 10 feet away, who looked like a phantom, Trump repeated the phrase about having more than circumstantial evidence. He pointed to the document on the left and stated that this was what Schiff told the country and the world, even though the FBI had told him 24 hours prior that no evidence existed. Leaning over the podium with his eyes locked on Schiff, Trump asked a simple yes or no question. He demanded to know if Schiff was lying to the FBI during the briefing or lying to Chuck Todd on television. The silence that ensued was heavy enough to crush bones, as this was not a political debate where one could shift to broad themes or national security matters. It was a binary trap, where two contradictory facts were shown side by side, meaning one of them had to be a falsehood. Schiff lifted the microphone with a hand that was trembling, a subtle vibration that was nonetheless visible to everyone present. He addressed the president with a voice struggling for authority but sounding thin, claiming Trump was cherry-picking a single initial assessment from the early phases of an inquiry. He argued that intelligence evolves and that there were indeed contacts, but Trump commanded him to stop with a snap like a whip. Trump warned him not to use the word evolved, reiterating that the FBI said no evidence, while Schiff said direct evidence. He declared that this was not evolution, but fabrication, stating Schiff looked the American people in the eye and used his position on the Intelligence Committee to peddle a lie. Trump continued with rising intensity, noting Schiff told them to trust him because he had seen the secret papers, knowing they could not see them. He accused Schiff of banking his entire career on the assumption that these documents would remain classified forever, but then gestured to the screen saying the shield was gone. He told Schiff that he had frightened the country, telling grandmothers in Ohio that their president was a Russian agent, and soldiers that their commander-in-chief was a traitor. Pointing to the date on the document, Trump said Schiff caused millions to lose faith in their government, knowing it wasn't true. He accused Schiff of walking out of that secure room, applying makeup, sitting in that chair, and lying. Schiff attempted to interrupt again by citing the Mueller report, but Trump roared and slammed his hand on the podium, shouting that the Mueller report found no conspiracy. He shouted that it was just like the FBI told him in 2017, just like the CIA told him, and just like everyone told him. Trump took a breath to compose himself, looking out at the press corps who were typing furiously, their faces illuminated by the glow of the damning screens. He asked softly if it was just once, suggesting that if it were a single mistake, maybe they could forgive it as a misunderstanding or confusion. He clicked the remote, changing the screen to a timeline stretching across the massive display, a horizontal line marked with dates. Above the line were red dots representing intelligence briefings, while below the line were blue dots representing Schiff's television appearances. Trump stated they checked the records and matched every single time Schiff entered the sensitive compartmented information facility with every time he appeared on television. He read that in May 2017, the briefing said no changes to the assessment. Yet, Schiff went on CNN, claiming evidence was hiding in plain sight. Trump continued that in July 2017, the briefing said the Steele dossier was unverified and likely fabricated. Yet Schiff went on MSNBC claiming the dossier was proving accurate. Trump declared it was a pattern, not a mistake, and called it a strategy rather than an error. Schiff stood there with the microphone feeling like a heavy weight in his hand, realizing with terrifying clarity that Trump was dismantling him rather than debating him. He was taking the one asset Schiff had always relied upon, his credibility as an insider, and transforming it into proof of fraud. Looking at him with something nearing pity, Trump remarked that Schiff was not an investigator, but a screenwriter. He accused him of writing a spy novel for CNN and using the seal of the United States Congress to sell it. Trump stated the book was over, and they were just getting to the plot twist because lying about the briefings was not enough, as he had to leak them too. A new document appeared on the screen showing a phone log, causing Schiff's stomach to drop as he recognized those numbers and dates. The trap had not just sprung, it was closing tight around his neck, and the phone log on the screen was damning. However, Donald Trump was not ready to discuss leaks yet, as he wanted to finish the autopsy of the lie first. He wanted the audience to comprehend the sheer scale of the deception, noting that one lie is a mistake. Trump clicked the remote to clear the single document, stating that two lies is a coincidence, but what Adam Schiff did was an industry. The screen behind Trump transformed, replacing the static documents with a dynamic scrolling graphic resembling a stock ticker, but showing dates, network logos, and quotes. Gesturing to the wall of data, Trump explained his staff conducted a project going back through the last 8 years. They found every single instance where Schiff went on television, including CNN, MSNBC, Sunday shows, and late-night shows, claiming to have seen evidence of collusion. He paused to let the endless timeline scroll, then announced they counted 227 times. He let the number hang in the air, emphasizing that 227 times Schiff looked into a camera and told the American people some variation of having seen direct evidence. Trump pressed a button to watch the highlight reel, and a video began to play, edited for maximum impact. It cut to Schiff on CNN claiming direct evidence, then to MSNBC citing more than circumstantial evidence, then to The View alleging ample evidence of collusion. The clips accelerated, showing Schiff in a blue tie, then a red tie, in a hallway, and in a studio. The background and interviewer changed, but the line remained a drumbeat of deception repeating the word evidence over and over. In the corner of the screen, a digital counter ticked upward with each clip, reaching numbers like 47, 89, and 143. Adam Schiff stood in the front room, compelled to watch a montage of his own dishonesty, which was agonizing. The cumulative effect was devastating because, while individual appearances over 8 years seemed authoritative, seeing them back-to-back made them look like the ravings of a con man selling a monorail. The counter hit 227, and the screen froze on a close-up of Schiff's face, looking particularly smug. Trump turned back to the real Schiff, whose face was currently drained of all color, and said softly that they checked the briefing logs for every single one of those dates. He pointed to the screen stating every single briefing said no, and that there was never a moment where the FBI or CIA told him they found conspiracy. He asked what evidence Schiff was talking about, questioning if it was invisible, imaginary, or just a script written to get booked on Rachel Maddow. Schiff cleared his throat, trying to summon the indignation that had served him so well for so long. He started to argue that the intelligence picture is complex, and contacts raised grave counterintelligence concerns even if they didn't meet legal standards. Trump's voice boomed, cutting through the spin, reminding him that he had said collusion. He pointed out Schiff didn't say counterintelligence concerns, but claimed proof of a crime, and called the president a traitor. Trump's voice dropped to an icy calm as he stated, "That isn't evolving intelligence, it is systematic lying." He accused Schiff of building a career on a phantom, becoming a star, raising millions, and getting book deals all because he claimed to have a secret that didn't exist. The room was silent, and the reporters, many of whom had booked Schiff for those very segments, looked down at their notepads, knowing they were part of the montage. Moving back to the podium, Trump said lying on TV is just dirty politics. But what Schiff did next was a crime. The timeline vanished, and the screen went black for a beat before a new image appeared, which was a complex network diagram. In the center was a picture of Adam Schiff, with lines radiating out to logos of major news organizations like the New York Times and CNN. Trump announced they would talk about leaks, explaining that when classified info hits the front page, the FBI investigates who had the info and who talked to reporters. Pointing to the screen, he identified the data as phone records from FBI counter-leak investigation files declassified that day. He zoomed in on a specific section showing a call placed from Schiff's personal cell phone to a CNN producer on December 12, 2016. Trump noted the call lasted 15 minutes, and the very next morning, CNN broke a story citing sources familiar with the briefing. Trump looked at Schiff and identified him as the source, then moved to the next data point from December 18, 2016. He highlighted a 23-minute call from Schiff's office line to Adam Goldman at the New York Times. On December 20th, the Times ran a story citing congressional sources, and Trump called it a perfect pattern of call followed by story. Walking to the edge of the stage, Trump accused Schiff of leaking the briefings, taking classified secrets he swore to protect, and giving them to friends in the media to hurt him. With a dark chuckle, Trump added that Schiff would then go on television the next day to say the report was disturbing, effectively confirming his own leak. Schiff stepped forward with a sharper voice, arguing these were characterizations and inferences drawn from standard interactions with the press. He claimed that members of Congress speak to reporters every day as part of their oversight duty. Trump snapped back that leaking classified intelligence about a sitting president is not oversight, but a felony. He accused Schiff of weaponizing his security clearance and using government secrets as political ammunition. He stated Schiff knew the FBI investigation was finding nothing, so he leaked partial misleading snippets to keep the narrative alive. Trump declared that isn't oversight, but propaganda, pointing to a specific line on the chart from January 10, 2017. He noted Schiff called David Ignatius at the Washington Post, and an hour later, a story ran about Mike Flynn's calls. Trump asked if Schiff told him, noting it was a felony leak that ruined a man's life right after Schiff was on the phone with the reporter. Schiff did not answer because to deny it was a perjury trap, and to admit it was a confession to a crime. He stood there in the silence which damned him more than any answer could, and Trump told the audience the phone records don't lie. Trump said for 8 years, Schiff told everyone the president was the security threat who couldn't be trusted with nuclear codes. Gesturing to the web of leaks, Trump remarked that it looked like the real security threat was sitting in the chairman's chair. He stated Schiff leaked, lied, and got caught, but added that fabricating evidence in an official impeachment hearing is worse. Trump adjusted the papers on his podium as the atmosphere shifted from shock to grim fascination. Reporters who had treated Schiff as a high priest of truth were now watching him be defrocked in real time. Trump said they had seen the lies and leaks, but now they needed to talk about the theater. He clicked the remote to vanish the phone records and announced the House Intelligence Committee impeachment hearing from September 26, 2019. He asked if Adam remembered deciding to read what he claimed was the transcript of the call with President Zelensky. The screen split again, showing the actual official transcript on the left and a video of Schiff on the right, looking grave. Trump pressed play to listen to what Schiff told the American people, and the video showed Schiff reading with dramatic flair. In the video, Schiff claimed the president said he wanted a favor and to make up dirt on his opponent 7 times. Trump paused the video and repeated the phrase about making up dirt, then turned to the transcript on the left. He stated he was looking at the transcript and did not see those words or the command to listen good. Trump said his voice was flat as he accused Schiff of making them up while sitting in a congressional hearing with the U.S. SEAL behind him. He accused Schiff of reading a fictional script and putting words in the president's mouth that were never spoken. Schiff stepped forward with a flushed face, stating that, as he said at the time, it was a parody meant to characterize the corrupt demand. Trump interrupted incredulously, reminding him he is the chairman of the Intelligence Committee leading a legal proceeding, not Saturday Night Live. Trump pulled a card from his pocket to see if the audience got the joke, reading that 63% of people believed those were actual words. He said Schiff tricked them because he didn't preface it as a joke, but presented it as the essence of the communication. Trump pointed a finger at Schiff, declaring that fabricating evidence to make him sound like a mob boss is fraud, not oversight. Trump acknowledged that the speech or debate clause protects Schiff from jail for lying in Congress, but it does not protect his reputation. He stated it proves Schiff is willing to manufacture reality to get what he wants. Schiff stood silent as the defense of parody looked pathetic when displayed next to the real text, appearing as a stunt that backfired. Trump moved on, stating Schiff didn't just make up the call, He also made up how the whole thing started with the whistleblower. The screen changed to a new timeline focused on August and September of 2019. As Trump recalled, they were told this was a brave, independent patriot. Trump looked at Schiff and noted he went on Morning Joe on September 17th and was asked directly if he had spoken to the whistleblower. He played the clip where Sam Stein asked the question, and Schiff replied that they had not spoken directly. Trump repeated the definitive answer, then clicked the remote to look at the visitor logs for Schiff's office. A document appeared showing a log from the secure spaces on August 12, 2019, 1 month before the complaint was filed. Trump read that the whistleblower called the staff director for 43 minutes, followed by an in-person meeting on August 14th. He noted a second meeting on August 28th, where staff helped find a lawyer and draft the complaint. Trump accused Schiff of coaching the whistleblower, knowing exactly who he was and what he would say because the team helped write it. Gesturing to the frozen video clip, Trump said Schiff looked the American people in the eye and lied about not speaking. He stated it was a direct, verifiable lie about the origins of an impeachment, accusing Schiff of being the architect rather than the judge. Trump said Schiff built the trap and baited the hook, then pretended to be a neutral observer, calling it coordination and deception. Schiff opened his mouth to explain the difference between the committee and himself personally, but stopped, knowing it would sound like guilt. Trump summarized that Schiff coordinated with the accuser, lied about it, and used a fake process to try to overturn an election. Darkening his voice, Trump proposed they talk about the big election of 2020, the laptop, and the 51 spies. The air in the room grew heavier as everyone knew this was the final blow, the fresh wound that might have changed history. Trump noted Schiff loved to talk about Russian disinformation, but in October 2020, he didn't just talk about it, he created it. Trump clicked the remote, turning the screen black, and declared this was the smoking gun. The East Room was quiet enough to hear the hum of the hard drives as Trump stood at the podium looking dangerous. He looked like a man holding the final puzzle piece, stating that while they discussed Russia and Ukraine, there was one more lie. He said this lie didn't just smear a president, but saved a candidate and changed an election. The screen flared to life with a document from October 2020, 3 weeks before the presidential election. Trump mentioned the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop and accused Schiff of going to his playbook and yelling, "Russia." He showed a classified briefing log from October 14, 2020, where the FBI briefed the Gang of Eight, including Schiff. The document findings stated forensic analysis confirmed the data was genuine, and the Bureau found no intelligence indicating Russian disinformation. Trump said the FBI told him it was real, it wasn't Russia, and it wasn't a hack. He clicked the remote to show Schiff on CNN with Wolf Blitzer 2 days later, on October 16th. In the video, Schiff looked authoritative and claimed the whole smear on Joe Biden clearly came from the Kremlin. Trump repeated the phrase "from the Kremlin," pointing out Schiff sat there knowing the FBI said otherwise and lied 3 weeks before an election. He accused Schiff of organizing a cover-up and clicked the remote to show an email chain subpoenaed from committee staff. Trump read an email from October 17th where the staff director told John Brennan and James Clapper they needed a letter on the laptop story. The email stated the chairman felt it critical to frame the story as a Russian operation before the debate and needed a statement from senior officials. Trump looked up and accused Adam of writing the famous letter of 51 spies, which claimed the laptop had classic earmarks of disinformation. He stated Schiff organized it, his staff drafted the talking points, and he got former officials to sign a lie they knew was a lie. Trump showed a montage of headlines including Twitter banning the post and Joe Biden citing the letter on the debate stage. He accused Schiff of censoring the truth and using his clearance to trick media and tech companies into silencing a legitimate story. He declared that is not oversight or politics, but election interference and rigging the information war. Trump walked to the edge of the stage stating Schiff knew the laptop was real, but decided the people weren't allowed to know. He accused him of creating a fake letter to support a fake narrative, and Schiff looked at the floor as his masterstroke was exposed. The internal emails stripped away the veneer of patriotism, revealing it was a political operation rather than national security. Trump simply said Schiff cheated the voters and history, using the Intelligence Committee to do it. He walked back to the podium, looking spiritually exhausted, as if the weight of fighting these lies had finally lifted. He ordered the slides turned off, the screens went black, and the room fell silent. Trump looked at Adam Schiff and said he had one last question, as the darkness made the room feel smaller and more intimate. The spectacle was over, leaving only the reckoning and the cold, hard reality of the evidence presented. Adam Schiff stood in the front row as a solitary figure amidst reporters viewing him with the clinical detachment of coroners. Trump said quietly that they had gone through the record, seeing the briefings, the transcript, the leak logs, and the laptop emails. He leaned forward, looking into Schiff's eyes, and said he wanted to ask the question Schiff had been asking him for 8 years. He let the silence stretch until it was uncomfortable and the only sound was a single camera shutter. Trump asked how many times Schiff lied to the American people. Schiff opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Trump asked if it was the 227 times he claimed collusion when the FBI said there was none. He asked if it was the 43 times he leaked secrets to the media and then confirmed his own leaks on TV. He asked if it was when he fabricated a fake transcript or when he coordinated with the whistleblower while denying it. He asked if it was when he organized 51 spies to call the real laptop disinformation so he could win an election. Trump's voice rose with each question, demanding to know how many times Adam used his security clearance as a weapon. He asked how many times he looked into a camera and deceived the people who pay his salary. Trump stated Schiff spent 8 years calling him a liar and a traitor, impeaching him twice, and tearing the country apart. Gesturing to the empty screens, Trump said the whole time it was Schiff holding the smoking gun and hiding the truth. He called him the disinformation machine, and the room remained frozen as 78 million people watched at home, holding their breath. They waited for the rebuttal from the skilled debater, but Adam Schiff said nothing, standing pale and small. The weight of the documents and logs pressed down on him, offering no spin that could survive the receipts. Trump watched him for a long moment, then shook his head, saying Schiff didn't have an answer because the answer is thousands. He said Schiff lied so many times he forgot what the truth looked like, then gathered his papers. Trump stated the American people deserved better, specifically an intelligence committee that protected them rather than gaslit them. Instead, they got Schiff, and Trump declared the press conference over, turning to walk out of the East Room without looking back. The spell broke, and the room erupted into chaos, with reporters shouting questions at the man standing in the front row. They asked if he leaked the Flynn call, and if that was his signature on the briefing log, but Adam Schiff didn't answer. He grabbed his notepad and pushed toward the side exit while his aides tried to form a wedge against the swarm. He kept his head down, fleeing the scene of his destruction, looking like a man trying to outrun a tsunami. As he escaped through the double doors, the image was captured by 100 cameras, showing the man who demanded truth running away from it. Within minutes, the internet exploded, and the clip of Trump asking, "How many times?" hit 93 million views in the first hour. The hashtag #SchiffLied trended #1 globally as the high-resolution images of the logs were downloaded millions of times. For 8 years, Adam Schiff had been the hunter, but in 90 minutes, Donald Trump had turned him into the hunted. The narrative had shattered, and there was no putting the secrets back in the box as the press conference ended at 3:43 p.m. By 4 p.m., Schiff's career was being autopsied on every screen in America, and Trump had left behind a digital crater. The Schiff dossier containing every lie was uploaded to the White House website, crashing the server 3 times due to traffic. Reaction on cable news was a mix of shock and scrambling, with Fox News taking a victory lap, showing the side-by-side clips. The real devastation occurred on networks that had built Schiff up, where CNN anchors looked shell-shocked at the briefing logs. A legal analyst admitted it was hard to reconcile seeing his signature on a document saying no evidence while he claimed otherwise on air. MSNBC tried to pivot by arguing about weaponization of classification, but a guest shook his head saying public records cannot be cherry-picked. He stated Schiff was in the room, he knew, and he lied, concluding that it is not politics, but proof. By the next morning, the dam broke as 17 ethics complaints were filed with the Senate Ethics Committee before noon. Watchdog groups that usually targeted Trump were filing against Schiff, citing egregious abuse of security clearance. The Department of Justice announced a review of the leak investigation, using the phone records as a roadmap for prosecution. The most brutal blow came from his own colleagues in the Senate, as the mood became toxic due to the embarrassment he caused. He had used the Intelligence Committee as a partisan toy, leading to a resolution to remove him from the committee. Usually these votes split down party lines, but this time the vote was 67 to 33, with 17 Democrats crossing the aisle. It was a stunning rebuke, showing that when your own party votes to strip your assignment, you are effectively dead walking. Polling in California confirmed the collapse, as his approval rating plummeted from 58% to 29% in a single week. The Washington Post published a massive interactive feature called the Schiff Timeline, allowing readers to match lies to documents. Schiff went into hiding, canceling town halls and fundraisers, and refusing all interview requests, except for one disastrous appearance. The invincible senator had been reduced to a cautionary tale, becoming radioactive as book deals were canceled and agents dropped him. The signers of the letter of 51 spies claimed they were misled by Schiff's staff, fleeing the ship and leaving him alone. 6 months later, Adam Schiff stood at a podium in a Los Angeles hotel ballroom facing a half-empty room. He read from a prepared statement announcing he had decided not to seek re-election to the United States Senate. He didn't mention the press conference or documents, but everyone knew he was quitting because internal polling showed him losing by 38 points. A newcomer named Katie Porter had launched a campaign with the slogan, "Truth Matters," using ads featuring clips of Trump's press conference. Schiff finished his speech, took no questions, and walked off the stage, marking a quiet, pathetic end to his career. 1 year later, Donald Trump sat on the patio at Mar-a-Lago being interviewed by a historian for a biography. When asked if he had regrets about what he did to Schiff, Trump smiled the smile of a man who had set the record straight. He said he didn't do anything to him. He just turned on the lights, and that Schiff destroyed himself by building a lie. Trump noted Schiff thought he was safe because the truth was classified, forgetting the president has ultimate power to declassify. The historian asked if he felt vindicated, And Trump corrected him, saying the country is vindicated because they were lied to. He explained that the declassification showed them who the real liars were, and the lesson is that receipts don't lie. You can spin and act. But if documents say no evidence and yet you say direct evidence, eventually you get caught. He said Schiff forgot the first rule of prosecution, which is never ask a question if you don't know what the evidence shows. Trump tapped the table, saying he knew what the evidence showed because he had the receipts. The legacy of Adam Schiff was cemented not as the man who fought Trump, but as the man who lied 227 times. He became a verb in Washington, where to Schiff, someone meant to lie about classified info until caught. Congress passed the Schiff Accountability Act, mandating affidavits when discussing classified briefings, and reporting standards were overhauled. Every time a politician claimed secret evidence, the people remembered the East Room and knew the answer was too many.